Welcome on in, golf fans. It's your boy Gsluke here with our round 4 live stream, or I should say, I guess round 3 live stream for LIV, round 4 for PGA, for Sunday's action for props and DFS. Gonna go through what you need to know for tomorrow to bet both of the slates, right? Whether you're a DFS player, you're a prop better out there, just giving you the tools that you need to hopefully make it a successful end of the week. Today, we did great for Showdown. I ended up like 5.5x overall, so that was pretty sweet. On props, was actually a slightly negative day, which is like, it's one of the few times over the last month that we've even said that. So is what it is. It was a slightly losing day there, but had a decent round out there with the boys, made some money for Showdown to more than make up for it. So enjoying ourselves, but I'm beat after the golf out there. It was 102 degrees. So we've got a little ginger ale this time, just taking it easy. Gonna probably play some video games, watch some UFC, and get some golf bets in tonight. So what's going on, Carl? You said you did okay in Showdown with 294.9. I nearly took home contest single entry GPPs with 289 points. So okay with 294. You probably should have like 7 or 8x today. So I would say that's better than okay, buddy. What's going on, Mark? We got Bobby down there who says light the candle. You got to love Bobby. Just an absolute national treasure. Welcome on in. Cheers, buddy. You had JT, Yeager, and Glover, and Cole. That's amazing, right? How do you think that's an okay day, bro? Like, Carl, take your prize. Take the tip of the cap from good old Luke. That's a damn good lineup. My 289 was only second place in the Showdown contest today. Believe it or not, we had somebody go out there and edge it out. But damn, that's a decent lineup. You had too much Siwoo and Lowry on Jock Market. Your units are $5. There's no way you could have lost $650. You're saying profit, so I guess that makes sense. Yeah, okay. Is what it is, bro. That's betting. What's going on, Chris? You cashed out 4K on PP. What could have been with Todd? That's awesome, dude. You love to see it. Those are the huge days that you like to have every couple of weeks. So tip of the cap to you, Chris. What did you bet today? I would love to know that. What category over there in Prize Picks? What's going on, Carl? What's going on, Curtis? Thanks again. Had a lot of green beans in your slips. You smashed the top of the board. Love to see it. Yeah, absolutely. I did a similar strategy, right? JT went off. That was pretty sweet today. We had a few other guys like JT Poston that played well. I mean, pretty much, right? Henley went off. Glover, right? We played him on Jock Market, made like $300 over there. Pretty solid day. So I would say on Underdog, that was the site that we lost a few units on today. It was 2 units overall. So like I said, we were break even on Prize Picks. We made money on Jock Market, slightly lost money there. Every prop slip that lost, and I think it was like 8 of them. There were a lot of slips that lost today. We obviously had a few that hit, but every single one that lost had a 1 out of 2. Literally every single one of them. And I think 3 or 4 of them were hooks too. I mean, that was brutal. We got unlucky there. So I'm glad that you took advantage, Bobby. But I got a little unlucky myself. I have to bitch about that. Watching this on your way back home from a 7-day cruise, that is awesome, dude. First off, where'd you go, Samuel? Would love to hear that. And cruises are some of my favorite times with friends, right? Go out there, drink a little bit, get to go around the world. Casinos usually on those. I like the casino because I could gamble them in international waters when I was 18, right? Because the laws are a little bit different on a cruise ship. That was my favorite part about cruise ships growing up, was being able to count cards and play blackjack there. That was fun. That double slip on JT was the bomb, Luke. Yeah, JT squared, got it done. We'll need some more core plays. We'll get it done today. So speaking of, let's just hop into it, right? Enough shooting the shit to start the stream. So if you guys are new here, right, round 4 Showdown, a little bit different, right, than the first 3 days. You have placement points involved, so we'll look at the weather. We'll talk through, some of the things that we noticed from the golf course, but really more than anything, it's a game theory slate, right? The top end of the board, the players that are up there in the top 5, top 10 are going to be unbelievably chalky when we get to DFS. So it's important to start with this because when we get into the weather forecast, kind of preluding to something right here, right? The weather forecast is kind of gonna dictate our strategy, right? Because with all the placement points in play, if you're not going to see a lot of scoring out there tomorrow, those placement points mean a whole lot, right? And obviously, tee times are also in line with the leaderboard, right? So these guys are the guys going off latest. Well, tomorrow, at least as the last run on HRRR, which I'll just go ahead and refresh it on here for you guys. Make sure that we actually are on the latest update, and you can see there's significant winds, right? The first 3 days, there was next to no wind. I guess day one in the afternoon, there was definitely some gusts out there. But what you have for tomorrow is what you've got decent sustained winds, right? In the like 9 to 11 mile an hour range. And then towards the end of the day, you can see it goes up to 30 mile an hour wind gusts. Now, that might be a glitch in their system or just like one random data point, right? Where it goes from like 14 to 30. I really don't think that's going to happen. But I mean, even these 14 to 15 mile an hour wind gusts are significantly higher than what we've had to start the week. And they're probably not going to have this rain come through. If you look at some of the other forecasts, you see that they have the rain coming in a little bit later. Let's see, Medio Blue here, right? Not towards like 6 p.m. So they should be finishing up right around then. Maybe the last few tee times, right? Your leaders get hit by a little bit of rain, right? That might throw them off their game. They're going to be on slightly windier conditions. And up until that point, it's going to be really sunny, right? It's been relatively sunny over there in Greensboro for the last day or so. So the greens might be a little bit crustier than what you've seen for the first 3 days too. All of this is kind of adding up to the AM guys being a little bit intriguing, right? Like I know they're not going to get placement points, but the guys going off early, we know they're going to have receptive greens, right? That's always pretty much the case when it comes to PGA DFS. But now they're going to have lower winds and potentially be avoiding a thunderstorm or whatever ends up coming through there towards the end of the day. Now, if there's a delay that would completely throw things off, maybe they finish up play before the storm even comes through. But even throwing that aside, right, because there's a lot of unknown, right, when it comes to the timing of storms, right? A few other forecasts were calling for them later anyways. But the winds are going to be a huge deal, right? The receptiveness of the greens, right, are going to have an impact. So the way that I'm playing this slate is I'm still going to have some chalk up top, right? This weather edge, right, that I've kind of been spinning up the last few minutes is going to matter, and it's going to dictate some of my strategy for tomorrow. But you are still going to have to take some chalk, right? I mean, look at some of the top end finishers here. They went absolutely nuclear. They were already in contention over the first 2 rounds, and you had guys like, I guess, Michael Kim might not be the best example, but like Jaeger, back it all up. Go out there, shoot 6 under par today, right? Benny Ann has been a human machine the first 3 days, just another 5 under par round. Russell Henley, 5 under. The guys, again, just been striping it. But like of the top end of the board, it's a lot of guys that are playing really well to this point. So, and doing it with the ball striking, right? If you bring up the advanced metrics, right? A lot of the guys up top, there are a few guys getting it done with the putter, right? Like Eric Cole, kind of does that, right? JT Poston has been decent with the putter for 2 of the first 3 rounds. Those guys, like you can kind of pick out of a hat, but most of them are just striping it to this point. So you're going to have some of them undoubtedly, especially in the large field GBPs, right? To take something down, you're going to have to get the winner that goes out there and pops. You're probably going to have that guy right in that 16th to 26th range here that goes from like 6, 7 under par up there to the top 10, right? Has that, let's say 63, 64 tomorrow. You're going to have those for the large field GPP. Though, and that's probably 4 of your players in your lineup, right? You're probably going to have 2 of those chalky pieces, maybe 2 of those surgers from the middle of the pack. And then what I would recommend for your last 2 spots be to take a few dark horses towards the AM wave. Now, this is more centered towards large field GPPs. Tomorrow, of the guys, and there's a specific reason why I think tomorrow's slate's even better for this, but you're going to have a few guys go off. A few guys tomorrow are going to show up. They're going to take advantage of those receptive greens, the lower winds, like I was mentioning. It might shoot a 61, a 62. The reason why it's more likely to happen tomorrow than what you might have had for most slates is these guys have their playoff hopes on the line, right? So just to give you a few examples, right? JJ Spawn, right, has to go off tomorrow. He has to go out there, and you can see he has a 95% chance of going out there and making it to the playoffs. But do you think he's going to leave that down to chance? Or do you think he's going to go out there, right, and try and shoot 3, 4 under par, right, and make sure that happens? Or maybe even a little bit better, right, like we're looking for in GPPs. Like that sort of player. You can see a Vince Norman has to have a pretty good day. And you can see there's a lot of guys down here with 0% chance. Look who doesn't have a 0% chance. Matthew Neesmith, right? Second tee time off. Like it's those kind of players that I think are especially intriguing. And if they're already in the playoffs, I think you can look at them too, right? So like an Adam Shank, guys like a Taylor Moore down here, the reason why they showed up this week, even though they had their spot locked up, is they need to secure positioning, right, to get into the second, potentially even over there to Atlanta, right, for the Tour Championship, over there to East Lake. So, which speaking of, I'll be at. That'll be a lot of fun. But this playoff race, at least in my opinion, matters for tomorrow. I don't think I've heard that narrative out there. I haven't watched any content for today. I just, in the past few years, I haven't heard people use that kind of narrative, but I think it could be useful for a few players, right? Like, let's see. Tomorrow, Davis Thompson, if he's going to make the playoffs, has to go nuclear. I mean, I'm talking like 6-7 under par. Maybe he's worth looking at. Cam Davis has to have a good round to go out there and make it. JT only has a 30% chance. You're damn right I'm playing him, right? We know that he's got the Ryder Cup narrative going there too. But there are, and look at this up top, right? Billy Ho's only a 50-50 chance. You got Lucas Glover's only a 63% chance to go out there and make it through to the playoffs. This is all going to matter. And for the cases of these top two players, I don't know if you guys have heard, I believe Glover has to finish in the top two, or maybe it's like the top three for Glover to go out there and make it to the playoffs. Horschel has to finish in the top two. So they're going to be under extreme scrutiny in the hardest conditions at the end of the day. And frankly, that's the kind of pressure that makes a lot of people fold, right? Especially like a Lucas Glover, who's recently found it with the flat stick. Just saying it. That little Y word might come back there on Sunday. And then Billy Ho, we know how horrible he's been playing of late, right? Those kind of demons come out when you're dealing with this kind of pressure coming there with the playoffs. So when we get to my player pool, it's not going to be a surprise that Billy Ho, I'm not playing. Lucas Glover, I am playing, right? So I'm taking one out of the two. But if you were going to fade both of them, I really couldn't short you for it. I definitely couldn't poke holes in that. I completely get it. So the strategy, like I said, it's a little bit of a hybrid, right? We're going to take some guys towards the top. We're going to definitely take some pivots as well, but it's that kind of slate, especially because of all the reasons that we just outlined. All right, anyways, that was a lot. Let's get through some lineup construction stuff, a few players that I like, and then afterwards, we'll be talking props. So if you guys are here for the prop side, you guys want to talk LIV, all that kind of fun stuff, that'll be after we go through the board here. So let's see what's going on in chats. All strokes unders with JT, Henley, Glover, Horschel, and Todd. There you go, a little six-man action. That's pretty sweet. Western Caribbean, you've got, so you went to Mahogany Bay, Belize, and Cozumel. I've been to two of the three there, but that's pretty sweet. 7-day cruise too. You get to like really enjoy everything, like try out all the restaurants on the ship. Obviously different stops like you went to. That's the way to do it. Like I know people like going on like weekend cruises. It's just a little bit too quickly. A little bit too quick for me. Jake, the problem child, Paul versus Nate Diaz tonight. You hope Diaz puts him to sleep. Yeah, I was going to bet a prop on Jake Paul for under knockouts, and Underdog took it off. Speaking of, I'm actually going to check and see if that's back up because I'm not a huge boxing guy, right? Don't get me wrong, but Jake Paul's not knocking out Nate Diaz, who has like a iron chin. That's just not going to happen. So no, they took it off. I guess they were keen to that. They probably figured out that people were realizing that that wasn't the way to bet it. And yeah, kind of unfortunate. All right. So if we're talking about a specific range, we'll go through that later on. And second off, you won the community contest today, Bar Down Sniper. So tip of the cap to you out there. Pretty sweet. I was saying in my Discord, which if you're on the Patreon, send me a message, get in there. But like I was super impressed with your lineup because I nearly took down GPPs today with my single entry. I like 7-8X'd. It was pretty sweet, but your lineup beat mine. And again, it was like in a single entry kind of build. So I was like, oh, look at that. Does the same FedEx Cup approach influence the prop plays? Yeah, probably, right? That's why I'm fading Billy Horschel, right? That same kind of idea. He's going to be under that same kind of scrutiny. Yes, I would say so to Peach. It's hard to kind of quantify, of course, but like if you're on the fence or you already see value, like I did in fading a Billy Horschel bogeys, then it makes it an even better prop, right? Billy Ho's number 183 on tour when it comes to bogey avoidance. I only know that because I checked it about 30 minutes before the stream, and he's at 2 bogeys. The average today was 2.84. So I already liked the prop, right? He was already definitely projecting over 2.84, right? Because he's outside the top 175 on tour in bogey avoidance. And then, I thought about the narrative, right? Him being there in first place. Martin actually pointed it out to me over there in a chat on Discord. And I was like, yeah, you're right, right? Like he's already projecting over. We've got somebody like Billy Ho who's going to be feeling it tomorrow. He's already a twitchy kind of guy, right? Like he's going to be feeling it tomorrow. I can guarantee you that. In the past, FedEx Cup champion, right? He's clearly handled it before. He's had a lot of real quality wins in his career. So he's shown an ability to do it, right? Memorial, right? Bay Hill, like just a bunch of really difficult golf tournaments, but it's also number 183 on tour in that category. So it'll be a fun one to watch for sure. Yeah, the pressure is real. I know I have a hard time playing when I have $5 on the line, let alone my career, let alone millions of dollars like these guys are playing for sure. Adam Scott brought that average up. For sure, a lot of guys did, right? You had guys actually end up over par. Yeah, Adam Scott was actually such a bozo today. He was 5 under par through 9 holes. I had his under 68 strokes. Frankly, I stopped even checking on him when I was out there on the golf course. And then by the time I get home, start going through some of my slips, so forth. He's 1 under par, shot a 69. Like, how do you do that? Come on, Adam Scott. If you're going to get to 5 under par through 9 holes, you've got to at least shoot 3 under par, right? I mean, like to shoot 4 over on the back, like, come on, dude. That's just not good. All right, anyways, let's go through some of the plays here. So if chalk, then I'm taking, I guess I'll just point it out. Russell Henley, I'm playing him because half trying to mush him. I have no exposure to Henley this week in main slate. And at this point, he's really the only reason I'm not winning a shit ton of money from a main slate. I had way more 6 of 6s than I thought. I actually went back and checked after the stream last night, and I had 28 6 of 6s, which was like 10x the field. Actually, might even been more than that when it came to the 6 of 6 rate. So, yeah, when I realized that, I was like, oh shit, I'm actually really live this week, even though I had like Denny McCarthy in my player pool. And then Russell Henley said, no, not so fast, right? Went out there and had that kind of day. So I'm playing him tomorrow. Same thing with Lucas Glover, another player I completely faded for main slate. And let it be known, I'm locking both of them tomorrow. Actually, I shouldn't say lock. I think I had Henley on like 88%. I had Lucas Glover in like, I think it was like 95% of lineup. So it was like almost every lineup. This will go one of two ways, right? Or they do really well for Showdown tomorrow, playing those two. Or I'll completely mush them out of existence. Kind of what I'm hoping happens, frankly. And my main slate lineups where I have a bunch of bullets with a bunch of different combinations of good players, I'll probably get at least one of them up there towards the top. So it's kind of like the bitch made way to go out there and play Sunday Showdown, but that's what I'm going with. Lucas Glover's been an animal with the approach play to this point, so I don't really see him slowing down. And then Russell Henley has, first off, played extremely well at this event in the past. It fits the golf course to a T. Like the guy hits the ball on a line every single time, right? Like it would tilt me beyond existence if I faded these two players and they went out there and just easily won the golf tournament. Like it would make too much sense. Like they're playing so well. They were coming in playing well. They were chalk for a reason, right? That's kind of the point here. And I've only got him at 30% ownership, right? Like Henley could be higher owned in single entries, higher dollar stuff, but I'm okay with that, right? Like Lucas Glover, the reason why he's lower owned is he's got a bunch of guys around him who are viable, right? And Brendan Todd, who people are still going to take. Eric Cole, people love playing him. You got Smitty, right, who had maybe a little bit of a down round today, but overall are all within shouting distance of that top 5. So if they have a good round, they could get themselves into that optimal lineup, right? They're all taking away ownership from Glover. So honestly, the ownership numbers aren't that bad. Like Henley, I could see being closer to like 40%, like I said, in the higher dollar stuff. But in GPPs, you can make it work. You can take some of that chalk and then mix in some of those flyers like I was talking about before. So just to give you an idea of a few flyers, Siwoo Kim obviously loves the golf course. I think it'd be crazy not to consider him as a little bit of a flyer, right? Shane Lowry, he's a player that has to play really well to get into the playoffs. So knowing that, right, you know that he's going to be aggressive out there tomorrow. Why not take a chance on the kid? Let's see. And I shouldn't call him a kid. He's way older than me. Harris English, 4.8% owned. Another player, right, that, I don't think he can make the playoffs. I think he might be a little bit too far back, but still wants to go out there, put out a respectable finish. Taylor Moore I'm playing. He's looking for positioning in the playoffs, like he's already in at this point. Let's see, you got Gary Woodland there. I believe he's already out of the playoffs, but once again, like they're going to play for positioning in the fall, right? They've got a whole fall swing to go out there, earn their tour card, get into potentially elevated events after the fall swing. So somebody like a Gary Woodland, he's playing for that. So I'm trying to find guys that have at least some reason to play. Like if you're an absolute slapdick that's like in 183, like you have no chance of even moving up, like I don't know if I care about that as much, right? Carson Young's played pretty well this year. Right? He's playing for that top 125. Matthew Neesmith, right, has a really good chance to make the playoffs, right? Just has to go out there and play decent tomorrow. Right? I like getting to him. Joel Damon, right, a veteran looking for positioning. Trey Molinax, Carl Wan, early tee times I'm using for a little bit of ownership differentiation. So as you can see, a lot of my player pool outside of the studs are all pivots, right? All going off early. So, people look at the top of my, player pool, right? Even JT Poston is chalky. Like Justin Thomas, right, is like 26% owned. Like I'm playing a lot of chalk, don't get me wrong, but my bottom end of the board, my value plays are all like sub 3% owned, right? And at the most, I think like 4.5% owned. So that's kind of how you got to play this Sunday Showdown. You're going to get some of those scrubs that just go off because the conditions early are going to be better, right? And then at the end of the day, even with worse conditions, you're still going to have some of these top end guys because they're just playing so well and they're getting those placement points. So that's the idea there. If you want my full player pool, all my ownership, check out the Patreon page. That's where that's going to be posted. Let's go through any questions that you've got about specific players, and then we'll hop into it. Let's see. What happened to him at the end? I don't know. I was on the golf course, wasn't watching. I believe he was a featured group, so if I wanted to go back and watch it, I could, but nope. Hope to see you at Eastlake in a couple weeks. You'll be following Rory. Sounds good. Yeah, I'll be there all 4 days, Chris. So just say hi. Actually, if you're on the Patreon or something like that, or just Twitter, anywhere you can message me, right? Just let me know where you're at. I'll come say hi. I have no idea what you're referring to Peach, but cheers to that. Samuel says, is it a bad approach to have 2 out of the top 3 up top? No, because I'm playing that. I'm going to have lineups that I have at least 2 of the top 3 together. I probably wouldn't do all 3 though, right? What's going on, Bobby? Samuel says, who do I like making it into the top 10? A bunch of guys, Sam, right? It's going to take a really good day, right? So there's no locks to go out there and do that. But like, I think a Sam Burns has a good shot. What is Sam Burns right now? He's actually not even that far off the top 10. So that's definitely not a hot take. Let me see. Yeah, he's T21 right now. Like, those kind of players, like the -6s, the -7s. So like maybe a Burnsy, maybe a Hogard, right? A Brandon Wu even at -5. He has a really good round. Gary Woodland, those kind of guys, right? The -5 to -8 range are what you want to look at there. Let's see. Streb or Hoffman? Oof. Neither. Frankly, neither. If you had to pick one, Hoffman. Chesson Hadley, yeah, you could take him. He's going to get some ownership. So let's look. Well, I got him at like 10.4%, but it's not horrible, right? You can make it work. For me, I'm just trying to take pivots, right? I'm just taking so much chalk up top that I can't take a 10% owned Hadley as my 6 man in, right? He can't be my lowest owned player in my lineup at 10.4%. Like that's just not going to work for my lineup construction. So it kind of depends on who you're taking up top. If you're going to take a Chesson Hadley, it's got to be in conjunction with like a Siwoo Kim, right? Like if I'm starting with Russell Henley and then taking Siwoo, and then maybe even taking right Glover is going to be in most of my lineups, like I said. If I'm starting with those 3, right, I'm going to have to get different in more than just one place, right? Like with Siwoo Kim. So like if I'm taking somebody like that down there, I probably even need one more pivot. It's tough. I don't like taking high-owned value plays. Not my favorite. You used Streb today and kind of did okay. Okay. You want to use the same lineup and see what happens? Let me know how it works. Never tried that before, honestly. Needs to go nuclear. You're right. Yeah, he needs to go out there to make the playoffs. What are his chances? Let me double check on that. I know earlier today he was in the playoffs, but then he completely melted down, right? He's got a 0.1% chance. Yeah, you could take Adam Scott. You could sell me on that. I just don't have enough room in my player pool to play an Adam Scott. But like, yeah, between him and Siwoo Kim, I think they're both decent options. Maybe Adam Scott might be your guy. All right, let's go through a few lineup construction things. So again, if you have any specific questions about a player, you can throw it down in chat. Of course, I'll get back to it. But let's talk a little bit of lineup construction together. And if you're going to play cash for tomorrow, you should probably be playing at least two of the top three, right? So let's say you're taking Glover and Henley, like I am here for Sunday Showdown. You throw those two in a lineup. Maybe you go down here and throw a JT in, right? Because I think he's a really good points per dollar kind of value. And in cash, that's kind of what we're looking for. Down towards the mid sevens. I don't have this sorted by salary. I was like, Sanjay M is 7K. I was like, what is going on? That would make no sense, by the way. Let's throw in Gary Woodland here down in the 6Ks. Like, I don't love a bunch of 6K guys, but there are guys in my pool. Like, you could throw in a Joel Damon. This kind of build, maybe you don't need a low-owned guy in the 6K range, right? But you need someone cheap to make this kind of lineup work. Maybe, I guess JT is the one piece you could take to make this a little bit more balanced. But I really like him for cash tomorrow. Frankly, if I was playing cash, I'd probably start with these four exact players. At the very least, these top three. JT does force you into a 6K player to get to the kind of builds that I like for cash. But I think it might be worth it, frankly, because of how well that he projects. If you're going to throw in a 6K guy, there are options, right? You've got Joel Damon down there. You've got Neesmith, I mentioned. You've got guys like Carson Young you can play. There's a bunch down there. So you can make it work in cash, kind of risky, but like I said, it's probably worth it with the JT. If you're playing in large field GPPs, I'll give you an example of how you can build up top. So let's start this lineup without Henley, just because Henley's real expensive. So let's go down here. I want to throw Sam Burns into this lineup. We're going to throw JT in. We're going to throw Lucas Glover in. So we've got two pieces of Mega Chalk, right, in a JT and Glover. We've got Sam Burns, who's actually a bit of a pivot there, but still has top-end upside, which is kind of like the nuts play for Sunday Showdown. He had a really good day today, so it's going to be hard to back it up, but he's a stud, right? He's one of the best players in this field. So, like, if anyone's going to do it, it's probably a Sam Burns. We're already down to 7,600 remaining, and we might be able to take one more piece of chalk, but this is for a large field GPP, right? I want to be getting leverage to the field. So this is where I would throw a Hogard in, right? Rather than going out there, throwing in a chalkier option like a Dietrich, a Svensson, a Cole, or God forbid, right, spending up and taking a Billy Horschel as a third piece of Mega Chalk. These kind of builds you can make work, but your last two players have to be like sub 5% or even like sub 1% owned players. You're going to get a lot of duplicates. A lot of people are going to think to take the top of the board, right, with a Glover and Horschel, throw in a JT and throw in one pivot up top. Like, you may think you're being different by taking this build. This is going to be duplicated, this foursome, like thousands of times in a large field GBP. So that's the issue I have with it. If you only have like the two pieces of Mega Chalk, it's much easier to handle. And Nikolai Hogard, kind of like a Sam Burns, he has a good round tomorrow. He's in the top 5, top 10. Right? He's getting placement points like we're looking for. And just because Horschel's in the top 10 right now or top 5, or in his case, right, tied for the lead, does not mean he's going to finish there. Right? Let's remember that pressure and nerves and volatility are a real thing. So if we throw Nuko in, we have plenty of salary to work with. So for our last two spots, right, just live in the 7K range. I wouldn't go too crazy with it. Maybe you throw a Woodland in there. You round it off at $7,200. This kind of lineup, I'd be more than fine with in a large field GBP. You've got two pivots in a Burns and Hogard. You've got Woodland, who's like 5% owned, also a pivot. And even with your last play, if you were chalky about it, which there's not a ton of chalk down here other than Michael Kim, even if you wanted to take Michael Kim here, you could make it work. Like, because you have three pivots in your lineup, right? And you're not taking three pieces of Mega Chalk. Like, that'll work out. If we had, let's say, instead of Hogard here, let's say that we had Horschel in here, I'm not sure if I could say the same thing, right? Let's pretend that we had the $7,000 to spend for a Michael Kim, just like for this hypothetical situation. I don't know if I'd be okay with that lineup, right? Like, we have a lot of chalk there and really only two pivots. And one of them is a Sam Burns, who, again, is just going to end up in a lot of lineups. And then Gary Woodland is like the one real pivot. He's like 5% owned, and he's in the top 25. It's like, That just seems a little bit too chalky for me. So I like to go through these lineups together just to show you guys my thinking when I'm building lineups, and to show you how much chalk you should be playing and how many pivots, right, you should be playing in a large field GPP. If you were in a single entry, maybe you can take that one extra piece of chalk. So, right, maybe rather than Tegan Nikolai Hogard, you go out there and you do take Horschel in that kind of build. But I would really only do that in a single entry or like a 2 to 3 max. 20 maxes, 150 maxes, any large field contest, at least per my liking, those aren't the kind of lineups that I prefer to enter. Let's see, what do we got down there? Do I cover the fall season? Absolutely. I cover every golf tournament, but I also do NFL stuff. So the content looks a little different. There's like 1 or 2 less golf videos per week, and then 1 or 2 football videos that I mix in. Usually content centered around some of the showdown slates. That's where I find a lot of my success when it comes to NFL DFS. But yeah, plenty of golf stuff too. Do I use any cumulative ownership strategies? I use a product ownership, a max product ownership, Samuel. That usually changes from slate to slate, usually depending on the kind of chalk that I'm playing. I actually don't know the metric I'm going to use for tomorrow yet. Right? I haven't built my lineups for Sunday, but I'd have to imagine, based on the fact that I'm playing like some 30% owned kind of players, my max product ownership probably going to be like 1%. At most, probably less than that. I'm probably going to still try and condense it less than 1%. And that would be high, right? That normally it's much lower than that for most of these showdown slates. The only reason I say I might give it 1% is because I'm playing like 30-40% owned Henley. I'm playing super chalky Glover. Like even like Eric Cole and JT, like they're gonna really kind of like dig that up. And I don't want to be playing like 0.1% owned players at like 3 spots. I feel like that'd be overkill. So we'll have to see. I have to play around with it later. It's something that in my personal optimizer, I can change. So like I can kind of like people have a max cumulative ownership, right? Just adding them together. I could do the same thing with product ownership. Alrighty. So if that's it for DFS, looks like it is for questions. Let's hop into some of the prop stuff here. So you can see the Billy Horschel prop I've already got up there. The main prop I wanted to give you guys for PGA today. This prop makes no sense. If you go over here and you add up the bogey average for today, it's 2.84. I mentioned Billy Horschel is number 183 on tour when it comes to bogey avoidance. Granted, he's playing a lot better right now, so it's inflated from him playing poorly for so long, but he mixes in a lot of bogeys. Even when he's playing well, right? He's kind of a sloppy player because of the off the tee play. And with the Sunday nerves, the afternoon wins, which let's go ahead and just refresh it again. Make sure we're looking at the latest ownership. I shouldn't say ownership, right? Wind projections here. Late in the day, it looks like it gets kind of nasty, right? It might even rain towards the end of the day too. All of that is going to work against Billy Horschel tomorrow. So yeah, if I think they moved the Shane Lowry prop up. I did take his over birdies. They had him at 4 birdies before, so obviously that got bumped up 0.5 to 4.5. This is still at 2 bogeys, which out of the 2 props was the much better prop. So I don't really get that one. Let's see. Let's find something else on here. So I haven't done a full deep dive on the board. I know I did like this Cam Davis over. So if you missed that first prop, or even if you're on the Patreon, or if you just want to enter something for right now, this over in Cam Davis, even as a 12:30 p.m. tee time, has got to make sense. The birdie average was all over 4.2 today for the field. And for somebody like Cam Davis, that I wouldn't say he's like an elite tier birdie maker, but he's a much better than average birdie maker for the PGA Tour. So at least per my projections, I haven't ran them yet for Sunday, at least for the prop side yet. Obviously did so for DFS. I'd have to imagine he's like 4.5 birdies at least, maybe even closer to like 4.6 birdies when it comes to a projection. So if I was going to enter anything right now, it would be these 2 props. Obviously, I can't enter Billy Ho again. Let's call him Billy Hoare. Oh boy, sorry, Billy. But either way, this is what I would enter as of right now. All right, let's get that off the screen. Let's see. Any prop questions yet? Nope, we're good. All right, let's see if Prize Picks has stuff up. It looks like they don't. They're slacking. JTA's sleeping on the job, it seems. Unsurprising. Happens all the time, frankly. the guy just, you have to like pester him to post props, it seems like, over there on the Discord. Let's see. All right, so I guess we're just stuck with an underdog PGA board. No LIV stuff up yet. We're still going to talk some LIV here in like 5 minutes, even if there's not a board up. Because today I saw a huge edge. And like I said, I had so many close calls. Like it was just like, it was so close to being a smash day. Tomorrow, if they give us the same kind of board, I'm nuking it again. Like we just got straight unlucky today. I will run that back in a millisecond. If you were going to take a Shane Lowry prop, this under 68 is not horrible. Oh, look at that. They took Billy Ho off. Okay, so I guess if you were going to enter anything now, I guess it would be these two. Oh, look, they put Billy back up. Okay, so they're taking it off, putting it back up there with Billy Horschel. You might want to catch that one pretty quickly because they seem to be messing around with that. Reason why I like Shane Lowry, he's a super early tee time, right? So he's going to be going off before the rain, before the winds really kick up. And just like a Cam Davis, right? He's a better than average birdie maker who's projected below the field average from round 3. And even if conditions are a little harder like I'd expect, right, I don't think the birdie average is going to get too far away from 4, right? Maybe it goes slightly below 4 for the field average, but like an elite tier birdie maker, like a Shane Lowry, a Cameron Davis, for example, is still going to project well over the 4 mark. So that's why I took a Shane Lowry. I guess you could take his strokes, but I definitely preferred the 4 birdie number. Yeah, Cam Davis, same thing. Pretty solid prop there. Any underdog rivals matchups I like. Thank you for the fire content. Of course, 3B. Give this guy a like and subscribe. Appreciate you doing my job for me. Yeah, like you said, though, hit that like button if you haven't already, right? Don't be shy. And subscribe so you guys can get all the content for next week, too. We've got first leg of the playoffs, of course, going to be covering all of that. BMW Championship. And then I'll be live there for Atlanta and Eastlake, so that'll be fun. All right, so let's see. Any rivals is what we were asking, right? So let's see. Where's PGA? There you are. I saw a few before that kind of stood out, so I guess we'll go through them. Let me put Cam Davis in my shopping cart because I might be betting that here. So let me go ahead and do so. Did they bump Adam Scott down on birdies? I see they just took it on. Oh, they didn't. They still have him at 4.5. Please bump him to 4. I would love that. Whoever's out there betting that prop. Oh, they've got Sam Burns at 4.5 again. That's tempting. Without moving day pins, though, it's a little bit more sketchy. All right, let's just throw the Cam Davis and one in there. Like I said, I look at these rivals. Sorry, I get distracted when I see value, right? My eyes just go towards the value. Curtis says, thoughts on LIV props aren't out yet. Yeah, we'll touch on those here in a minute. I'm actually going to go over the weather forecast with you guys, and we'll go over like the thought process, right? How I'm expecting to attack the board. Let's go through these rivals first, though. So yeah, a few that actually caught my attention early, but I didn't bet any. So let's see. This one immediately stuck out because you could bet against Max McGreevy. And not to be mean, but McGreevy's not very good at golf most weeks. Some weeks he's decent, but most of the time, not the best golfer. So that was the main one that was standing out. Let me see. Were there any others? I don't think so. A couple like leans for sure. A couple where I was like, oh, I would definitely rather have that guy than the other. But honestly, I'm just going to enter this first because my mic's probably going to unplug here. Actually, is that 0 going to work? Oh, it did. Look at that. I don't even have to get my finger near what these cables. That if I touch my mic cable, it just immediately unplugs. Let's just enter this here. So Brandt Snedeker, I know he's not playing that well. I know he's an old crusty mofo. But you're talking about being able to bet against Max McGreevy. Like, that's just, it's too good to pass up. The guy is literal dog shit most weeks. And then, yeah, that Cam Davis prop that I like too. I don't love the tee time. I would rather have him, had a 9 a.m. tee time like Shane Lowry, right? At the same thing at that projection. But Cam Davis is also playing better at golf, right? So that kind of helps him out there too. So again, if you were going to enter anything as of right now, they didn't take that off. Yeah, there's the Brandt Snedeker prop. And then here's the Cam Davis prop. That's what I would probably stick to. Let's see. Oh, look at that. JTA woke up. Hey, good morning from your nap, JTA. I'm sure you're watching. You always do. I know that. By the way, it's very obvious. But yeah, let's go through this board. So they've got St. Burns at 4.5. They've got JT up today. Funny enough, they didn't post these guys at 4.5 yesterday, right? They had Sam Burns up for like 5 minutes. We took him on the stream, and then they took him down perpetually. I didn't post JT either. I wonder why, right? It's because their birdie percentages were too high. They didn't want to offer them. Now that we have Sunday pins and higher wins, they're like, oh, now you can go and bet on JT and Sam Burns. So, yeah, that's why I didn't immediately attack them over here on Prize Picks. I had a feeling that they were going to post them at the same numbers on the Prize Pick side, and it kind of feels like a trap. Like those wins are not like, I don't know, at 4.5, I'd rather have that push in my back pocket, right? Like if conditions get a little dicey, I could see guys, only getting to 4, right? Especially if they don't have the putter working, right? Like you only have the 2 par 5s, you only have that one really short par 4 that is like borderline drivable. That's like almost like a for sure birdie look for an elite driver like Burns. But then it gets dicey, right? For the other like 14, 15 holes. So we'll see. Maybe I do fire on some of the birdie props a little bit later, but I don't know. Seeing Prize Picks put them up at 4.5 kind of scares me off. Like they knew what they're doing over there. For as much crap as I give them, right? They're pretty good with their projections most of the time, but I can see why they'd post these guys today and not do so yesterday, right? Or I should say for today's round, because of how easy the conditions were. Where we at? So let's go through some of the LIV stuff. So in terms of your weather, we're looking at pretty much pristine conditions again, except that there's going to be a storm coming through in the afternoon. So it's White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia. That's where they're playing. And it looks like the forecast has gone a lot better. So they're teeing off at 9 a.m. rather than in the afternoon, which I think will help out their case. They'll have more receptive greens, also lower winds. And if they can avoid like this like 2 to 4 p.m. window, which I think they'll be finishing up right around like 1 or 2 p.m., they're going to have pretty much the same conditions as the first 2 days. So if you're looking at the averages, I don't think they're going to change all that much. The birdie average for LIV today was 4.66 birdies per round, which is obviously very high, right? Especially compared to like what you had for Wyndham. It was like 4.22, even more of a birdie fest. And the scoring average was 2.85 under par. So back nine alone played 2 strokes under par. So though you had a few guys like DJ, who I bet on today, he shot +3. I mean, come on. It's DJ. The scoring average is 3 under. Like, how do you shoot +3, right? But yeah, Nicholson shot over par. Pretty much everyone else went nuclear. I mean, you had guys like Bryson who shot -9. Mito shot -8. I believe, let's look at this. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 birdies on the day there for Amito Pereira. If you have your stuff around the Greenbriar, and it's going to be the case again tomorrow, you're going to make birdies. If you don't have your stuff, right, like a DJ, you might shoot 3, 4 over par. So when we look at the board, I'm going to look at some of the ball striking stats for the first 3 days, try and find players that were hitting fairways and hitting greens. We don't have shots gained metrics. We don't have shot tracker, right? So our process a little bit more archaic, right, than what we have with PGA. But, using that, we can kind of figure out who some of the guys who are hitting it well are, right, and attack them that way. So that's going to be my strategy, Curtis. It's going to be some positive stances, right? A lot of it comes down to pricing. But if we get a similar board, which is kind of what I'm expecting here, it's going to be some unders on strokes, maybe some overs on birdies, and especially, like I said, targeting the guys that are hitting the ball well to this point. Let's see. Any update over here on Prize Picks or Underdog in terms of LIV? Let's see. No LIV stuff and no LIV on Prize Picks. So, yeah, if you were going to enter anything over here, let's see. What do they have Lowry at? They don't even have his birdies up, but they have pretty much the whole board at 4.5, right? So you'd have to think like a Cam Davis, for example, right? He's at 4.5 birdies. There was clear value in taking his over at 4. You'd have to think that a Lowry would probably be at the same kind of projection. It's worth noting, though, guys, they didn't post any AM players other than Siwoo Kim. I guess you could kind of call Adam Scott an AM wave golfer because the conditions later are going to be tough, right? And like people are going to see these 4.5 numbers and be like, oh, like the winning score is -18 so far. Like they can clearly make 5 birdies. Is what a lot of slappies are going to think to themselves, not realizing that all of these players are teeing off late and are going to have like, I don't want to say brutal conditions, but at least harder, right, than what you have in the AM wave. Yeah, they feel like traps, at least at 4.5 birdies. Like I mentioned, I think that there's a lot of equity for players when they're not playing well to get to 4 birdies, which is huge, right? Huge in terms of your expected value. Let's see what else we got. So they do have Lowry at 68. Okay, that's good to know. 68 for Davis. Seems about right. Billy Ho's at 68.5. What is he over here on? I think he was at like 67.5. Was he not? Where's good old Billy Ho? Is he even on the board? Yeah, he was at 67.5. This over on bogeys I liked, but you could take his over on strokes too, right? That's an entire stroke discrepancy there. What do they have? Glover's at 68.5. Wow, that's okay. So maybe we could consider taking that. Who else is a discrepancy that we've got going on? Any 5 birdies right now? They were all like 4.5. Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know. I hate that we can't just go over here and take like 2 overs for strokes. So like we couldn't enter this slip even if we wanted to, right? They don't let you take 2 overs for strokes. In fact, I guess I'll just try it. Maybe they broke the rules, right? No, that says I hit my limit on horses, so I guess maybe I could. Is there another stroke discrepancy so we can test this? Let's see, what do they have? Poston's 68, right? Yeah, Poston's a 68. It'd be nice if I could just test it on Billy Ho because I don't really want to fade anyone else and then have it go through and be like, ah, shit, I can't withdraw it. But let's see. They have anyone else up? No. That's unfortunate. I really want to test this. Hey, anyone out there? I would definitely enter this slip if I can. Okay. I am already at my limit on Horschel. Let me know if you can enter this over on Glover and over on Billy Ho together. Again, the rules were changed, so you probably can't, but just in case, let me know. That would be sweet. Let's see, what else do we got? Chandler says, any props that don't seem the best? Okay, any that I like the best. I have no idea what you're saying there, Chandler. Any props you like that don't seem the best, but feel like they could get there? You have 4 on Underdog looking for 1 more. Okay, I see what you're saying. Right, so like a lean, right? You're looking for a lean. So if you're looking for a lean, overs on bogeys, right? Like an over on Henley at 2 bogeys, over on Glover at 2 bogeys. You could take probably one of those. There's a few others on the board, like JT Poston, right? I don't know. Those just come to mind. No analysis involved there, though, so don't take it too much. What's going on, Tyler? Would you guys take JT to beat Cam Davis in round 4? Absolutely, I would. I think that, JT's got to go out there and have a big day. And when you compare, JT to Cam Davis from the pedigree perspective, it's not particularly close. So for sure, I would take that, Tyler. But yeah, anyone else has an opinion, feel free to throw it down there too. Would love it. It doesn't work. Yeah, figured. And you never know. I'm going to test it pretty much every slate. If they break that rule, you best believe I'm going to take advantage, right? Even if they go out there and refund entries, like that's the worst case scenario, right? Any LIV. I'm just kind of hoping that, oh, look at that. Ask and you shall receive, huh? That was pretty weird. All right, so they've got 5.5 for the studs, 4.5 for the quote unquote duds, right? The guys that suck. And then for strokes, it looks like they bumped it down 0.5. Almost every player is down 0.5 strokes from what they were for today. We've got a few guys the same, right? Like Sergio, Casey, Kokrak, right, are all still there at 67.5. But a lot of the top end players, right, have been moved down. So it's been bumped a bit. So we're going to have to kind of be selective with the players that we're taking. But kind of like I mentioned before, right? You want somebody who's playing pretty decently, right? So you want to look at the ball striking stats, make sure that these guys are checking the boxes we're looking for. There's going to be fades too, though, right? Because they've bumped it down even more. If somebody's maybe just getting by with the putter, or maybe, long-term not really fitting of the kind of, performance so far, maybe you fade them, right? So like, for example, David Puig, right? Like I know he's been killing it this week, but like he's never won before for a reason, right? He's like one of the only LIV players that doesn't have a win out there. Like Richard Bland, right, is the lowest birdie percentage player, I believe, in all of the LIV Tour. In fact, let me just bring up the stats real quick and we can double check that. They have the birdie numbers up. You can go up, just figure out the birdies per round. So let's go down and see. All right, statistics, birdies. All right. And let's share our screen so you guys can see what the heck I'm talking about here. So for birdies, they've got this up, which is pretty sweet. Big Dick Bland makes 4.11 birdies per round. It's actually a lot better than I thought. So he's not down here with like the complete slap. He's like a Martin Keimer who makes like 3.22 per round. But you know, he's not too much better than some of the guys down here at the bottom. So maybe we don't fade him. Puig only makes 3.78 per round, right? So that kind of makes sense for a fade. It's worth noting that the average birdies for LIV today was 4.66, so it was relatively high. It's just that like Puig he's a young kid, right? He's probably going to be pretty nervous out there tomorrow. There's selective fades that we can take and then selective overs. Like Matthew Wolff has played excellent to this point. In fact, how many birdies did he make today? Let's see, I've got the leaderboard up. He made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? He would have covered this today. Clearly would have covered that in round 1, 2. Like they're going to be overs that I like too, right? In combination with maybe some of the unders. So it's not as straightforward as a board as maybe what we had the first 2 days, but still a doable board. Like I don't think I'd take an under at 66 strokes. Don't get me wrong, but there's like guys at the bottom of the board here, like maybe a Sergio, for example, that maybe I do take for an under at 67.5. So we'll have to see. I got to run projections, see what we're looking at on that end. But looks like quite a bit of exposure we can get to. Let's see. Of course, I got you, Tyler. Best of luck tomorrow. You got it to go, but 2.5x. Never mind. You're saying on Prize Picks. Yeah. Prize Picks won't give you any trouble. Yeah, an Underdog, you've got the correlation stuff to worry about. Alrighty, guys, that is all I've got for the stream tonight. I appreciate all the support as per usual. Best of luck out there with your Sunday exposure. Let's cash a few Showdown lineups. Go out there and get some props in there as well. So looking forward to it, whether it's for LIV or for PGA. If you want all of my exposure for Sunday, well, check out the Patreon, right? Link is down below. It is $10 for the month and gets you access to all of the spreadsheets that you see for Showdown and, of course, all of the props that I'm entering. So until then, guys, have yourself a great Saturday night and let's get this cash.